A Stick of Time, episode 7. This was probably the most negative I felt leaving an episode. And I know Jimmy, me and you were talking on the side. You're probably closer aligned to me than maybe the general public. I don't really know. I haven't done a lot of internet searching yet on what people are saying about this episode, but I really thought that it did not feel good as a 7 out of 10th series like episode. Like it just felt like it was like a slow moving episode again. Like this combined with the last one, it really makes you kind of in hindsight look like the plot's been halted. Like we haven't been spending a lot of time moving the plot at the pace that we did through the first 5 episodes. And I was totally comfortable with slowing down, working on their characters for episode 6. But now that it's happened twice in a row, and I actually think this episode, even with the quote unquote character work it did, I felt like a lot of the character interactions fell flat. They didn't progress anything. I was almost confused at what the takeaways for some of the interactions are. I don't want to spoil some of those thoughts until we get there. It's still above quality, above average quality and just normal TV, but I really felt like this was the first episode where I wasn't too happy with it. And I don't want to get into more specifics yet, but Paul, since I haven't even heard what your opinion on the on episode 7 was, what did you think?
I mean, I liked it a lot. I think I appreciated it more on the second watch through, which has been surprising me. I feel like I do actually grab a lot more details during the second watch, and it adds a little bit more to everything. And I kind of understand that feeling that you have of negativity, but I also really enjoyed it, and I feel like there's some behind the scenes things where once we finish the season, we could look back at this episode and be like, "Wow, like they were trying to trick us. There were some secrets being held." Like without going too far into it, like Toranaga might be scheming everybody, and
Yeah.
I mean, we'll obviously discuss more, but like Gin gets into it when they have their stick of time, which title the episode. So
Oh boy, I usually only get this excited when they say the title of a movie in the movie.
I'm telling you, these drug dealers represent a clear and present danger to the United States.
He said it! He said it!
Hmm.
obviously that was a huge scene. So yeah, I don't know. I really love it. I will say the end, both times watching the end happen, and I'm like, really? Damn, man. That's so weird how that worked out. So obviously emotions everywhere because so much did happen all in like 1 second. So it was a little weird, but overall, I do love this episode.
Add a comment onto my reaction based on what you just said there about Toranaga. A huge part of my disappointment was how it felt like everything we've known about him and seen up to this point. He's been this strategic genius. Everything goes his way. When he's quiet for a reason. When he has a conversation, it's for a reason. And it felt like that all went out the window this episode. And I think there's a lot of room for them to fix it. So like in the next episode, they can completely change my opinion looking back. But right now, like I didn't think I took anything from that Lady Jin conversation. I thought the Mariko and Buntaro stuff took up way too much time to have pretty much no movement forward in their relationship. And Nagakado, like he's been pretty much the worst character since the first time he's been introduced. And I feel like that just kind of stuck with it. Just a bunch of my just negative opinions coming out because I'm gonna still be hyping up the episode as we're going through it. So I just want like basically this is the only time I've been able to talk about Shogun in a slightly negative light, so I'm just going to ride with it because it's never going to happen again. I'm pretty confident we're going to bounce back in episode 8, but I need to point it out when I am disappointed a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel you there. I feel out both of you guys actually, because let me first say my thoughts on the last episode, and I'm going to
Mhm.
keep this quick, and I'll pepper it in. I said I'll salt it in. I'll pepper it in throughout the episode when it makes sense. But I think it'll make sense to start with what I feel about episode 6 because it'll give you a reason why I was upset a little bit about 7. So I think one of the best parts about episode 6 was getting our background and the connection between Mariko and Oshiba, right? That
Mhm.
was phenomenal. Figuring out their backstory, getting more about Mariko and having her conversation with Toranaga, that was so good to me. And I'm not going to go too much in episode 6 other than that, just because for now, it makes sense for me to talk about it because I'm upset about Mariko in this episode. I
Mhm.
think that they put her on the back burner. And I think that, to be honest, I don't understand why she still has the I don't want to be alive mentality after that great conversation with Toranaga. I thought that conversation's point was to let her know that she has a purpose. So I feel like that conversation with Toranaga came out of nowhere almost. And meaning the conversation with her saying, please take my life or let me take my own life.
Hmm.
So that was something that bothered me.
Just like
But
regression for her as a character, right?
I just like to your point, Luke, you're saying that episode 7 in an entire series, not episode 1 or a season 1, episode 7 of Game of Thrones, where we have 8 seasons coming, right?
Hmm.
Even if there's 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, there's 1 season. So episode 7 is deep into a single series. I mean, there is 3 hours left. 3 hours, a lot can happen, but I didn't expect us to get that push, that purpose for Mariko in episode 6. That really got me going, really got me excited. And then in episode 7, really, really just put her on the back burner and then regress her a little bit. I'm
Hmm.
sure they'll figure it out, and I'm sure she'll come right back into the limelight, into the front lines in episode 8, 9, 10, or whatever. But for now, it's just a little confusing.
Yeah, you put that better than I did. That's just how I felt. And then JB might as well have not even been in this episode. He had a really funny
Yeah.
moment, like one of the funniest of the entire show, which he always does. But like he didn't get a lot of development either. I don't know. I think it'll all come out. Maybe, and usually when we go through these podcasts, anything I feel slightly negative about, we talk it out and I feel better. So maybe that'll be the case here. But did you want to
Yeah.
add anything else about episode 6?
The only thing I wanted to say about episode 7 additionally was that I said I saw both of your points because Paul, no matter what, I really and your point is this as well, Luke. I really enjoy these episodes. And I don't know if this is my least favorite. I think it's the one that I see the most problems with in my own head of things that I didn't really like. I'm not saying logically, Monday morning quarterbacking it after episode 8, 9, and 10, Paul, you might be right, and you probably will be right, and we'll be like, damn, that was
Hmm.
freaking sweet, because I really don't expect Toranaga to have been bested like that, because that is so out of character. Luke, you already talked about it, and we'll talk about it more later, but that was another big strife I had with this episode. I didn't understand how Toranaga got bested, and then Jen herself called him out for it and was like, you have a plan, right? Because this is bullshit, basically. So
Oh
we'll
yeah.
talk about it. But yeah, there are some things, and those
Hmm.
things might easily get fixed. So it'll be something interesting to talk about in the later episodes.